A first-hand perspective now on the day-to-day crisis. Stephen Anderson is the country director in Yemen for the World Food Program. Like you have never seen. The United Nations says Yemen could soon be facing a humanitarian disaster, the likes of which professionals like you have never seen. Can you tell me a bit about the scope of your operation in Yemen now?
Yeah, thank you. Well, first of all, the World Food Program is already operating 24/7 at full tilt, trying to help avert a famine. We're feeding roughly 8 million people a month. This is in a situation of conflict. What we fear, however, is that due to a worsening economic crisis and devaluation of the local currency against the dollar, which has resulted in rapidly increasing food prices, this combined with conflict could push another 5.5 million people into severe hunger, and these people, which would make around 14 million or half of Yemen's population. This is a major concern for us right now.
You say you're feeding 8 million people a month now. Are you reaching, do you think, the people who need to be reached?
We're doing our level best to try to target the assistance that we have to the districts which are most highly prone to famine. There's about 107 districts, about 1/3 of all the districts in Yemen, which we're trying to target systematically. But again, if the numbers of people in these districts are increasing and we don't have enough, we may need to bring, of course, increase the amount of assistance that we provide. There are also important economic measures that we need to be taken to shore up the currency, to ensure letters of credit are given to commercial suppliers, to, of course, not least of all, is to try to get the ceasefire and to end the conflict, because that's the only sustainable way we're going to see an end to this suffering.
In an immediate sense, what would make the most difference to aid organizations that are trying to help now?
Well, we need to ramp up our assistance as the World Food Program, so we do need support. So that is my appeal, but at the same time, I also call on all the calls, and I see that Canada has also very much supported the move to end this conflict. So the political initiatives making sure your government is strongly pushing on the peace process. This is the most critical priority right now.
We know that Yemen, in effect, has been blockaded, and that there's been increased fighting around the port of Hodeidah as well. Can you get the food aid in?
Up to now, we're still able to get food in to Hodeidah. Normally about 50% of all of our shipments are coming through Hodeidah. We've had some slowdown because of the conflict, and we unfortunately have lost access to about 51,000 tons of food that's in a silo in the southern part of Hodeidah where there's fighting, and that's wheat sufficient for 3.7 million people for a month. And this is really just due to the front line being right there. So this is a very difficult situation, but in the northern part of the city where the port is, we're still getting in ships, and we're trying to ensure the cooperation of all the parties, and they are trying to facilitate our work, but it's the conflict situation and the suspicion and which it creates. This creates a nightmare, a logistical nightmare for us.
Thank you very much for telling us about this.
Thank you very much for your interest in Yemen. it doesn't get a lot of attention globally, but thankfully much more in the last few weeks. So that's very much appreciated.
How long have you been in Yemen?
Since January 2017, so it's more, I guess, a year. And I visited, of course, in the past. My sister used to live here, and I love the country. It's a beautiful. I just feel so ashamed that the country is being known for this situation now. But very warm people, very old culture. Very interesting place to live. But right now, it's horrific.
I was going to say, can you put it in context for me? Just one more question. Put it in context for me in terms of other disasters that you've seen.
Well, I've worked in other disasters, natural disasters, conflicts in Sudan and in Southern Africa, in Asia. This is the worst I've ever seen in 29 years of my professional career with the World Food Program. This is the absolute worst. The malnutrition levels that I've seen, and the desperation of the families on a scale that I've not seen before. I've seen plenty of suffering, unfortunately, because that's a lot of the nature of our work. But the scale of the suffering and the fact that it's all entirely man-made it really hits home, and it's something that this shouldn't be happening in 2018.
Thanks again for your time. I appreciate your work.
Thank you for your interest.
And that's our program for this week. If you'd like to take another look at any of the interviews in the program or at any of our previous programs, they're all available on our webpage at cpac.ca/perspective. And if you'd like to comment on anything you see, you can reach us on Twitter and Facebook or by email at perspective@cpac.ca. As we leave you, some more images of the war in Yemen for photojournalist Lorenzo Tugnoli, who was in Yemen earlier this year. I'm Alison Smith. Thanks for watching.